Hello everyone, my name is Corey. This is a BMW Transcontinental, and I'm going to walk through everything on it today. So let's just get started with a walk around because it's a little chilly today. Obviously, you've got everything on the normal bikes. You've got two massive cylinders hanging out each side. Over here you have your reverse lever, right down here. That is useful when you run into a space that you really have to push this thing out of. 950 pounds is not fun to back up. Up front, you've got your main headlight. On the sides, you've got your fog lights. They don't really do much. This black box up here, that's your adaptive cruise control. Again, another massive cylinder over here. Sorry for any of the wind noise you hear today. It is quite windy out. You have your panniers with your subwoofers in there. You have locking top box and panniers. And over here, all of the passengers love it. That's your passenger heated seat control. So with that, let me set you guys down on the dash, and we'll go through the TFT and all the options in it. All right, here we are at the dash, and we are going to get the bike started up. Can't miss a BMW startup logo. Here we are at the main dash. Here you'll see these are the things that never go away. You have your speedometer up here. This is your top menu information, your mode, your gear, your time, heated seat number, heated grip number, and the outside temperature. It's cold. We're going to get the bike started up now, just so I can maintain a little bit of warmth while we go through this, and then we're going to step into the menus. So, you'll notice that my mobile phone connected, my helmet connected, and we're going to start getting some data here. This little white box up here, that is the local speed limit on the road that you're on, according to BMW. It works the vast majority of the time. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just shows these dashes, and sometimes it's a little off. So take it with a grain of salt. We're going to go with the split screen first. So you can turn the screen into a split screen, kind of with a 2/3, 1/3. And you can do that by using the wonder wheel and just pressing to the right. And that brings this in. And you can have different menus over here. So this is my trip computer 1. This is my trip computer 2. This is my maps that are loading up. There we go. So this is my navigation. And if I want to, I can have my media over here. This box over to the right hand side is not interactable. So while you're over here, you cannot interact with this. This is just for show. That'll come into play here in a little bit. But this is how I normally ride. I'll have my main screen up. I'll have my map up. And I'm good. So we'll go into the settings, and this is going to be like any other bike, but it's going to have a few more. Because it has a stereo on it, we have radio controls. Under the My Vehicle, this is the same as any other BMW TFT. We have your vehicle, we have your onboard computers for trip 1 and trip 2, your tire pressures, and your service requirements. This is the same throughout all of BMW's TFTs. Under radio, because we have a bike with a stereo on it, this also goes for the RT as well. We come in, I'm not sure about the K series, I don't know when they're getting this screen, but this screen is also on the RT series. So we can turn the radio on if we want. Now this is coming through my helmet because that's the current, out port. We can do a source. Oh, well, it's going to take that all the way. Alright, so we can do a source, AM, we can do FM, we can do Sirius XM. This does require subscription, but I usually don't use it. You can do add as favorites, and you can just scroll through which favorites you want, add them into favorites of your current station. This is where you select your stations, and it'll go through and scan them and tell you what you've got. You can do a search selection to go to station, or you can go individual frequencies. And you can select HD radio or not. Audio settings, now this is the same as in the media option as well. Right now my output device is helmet, so I don't have any sound profile, and I'm turning my wonder wheel, and I can't get down to here because these are all grayed out. So if I go and I select my speakers as my output, you'll hear, or you may not, but my sound is now coming out of my speakers over on the left, right, and in the back. Now I can go into sound profiles and I can do balance, bass boost, all of these. And if I don't like exactly how they sound, you can go into your equalizer and start messing with the treble, the bass, the fader for front and back, and volume control. So this is how you get your audio sound to sound the way you want. The sound profiles and the equalizers are only available when you're playing out of the built-in speakers. I usually don't use those. My helmet communications speakers are much better. I hear them on the road a lot better, and that's just what I tend to use. So let's turn the radio off and let's go back up to the next menu. Navigation. Now this is one of the cool things that BMW did. So I have my map over here, and when I go into navigation, it goes, well, you don't need two maps. I'll just give you a full screen map, which I like. There are some times where I just want to drive around, and I look to see what roads connect with what, and this is actually pretty nice. If I go to the wonder wheel over to the left, you'll see that I can now zoom out to a ridiculously useless level, just to see where I am in the world, and I can zoom in to an equally ridiculous level that has absolutely no use to me. So I usually go 3 or 4 clicks out, and you know, you'll want to wheel to the left to exit out of the zoom, and now you're stayed there. The key thing to note is when you zoom out here, or when you adjust your zoom level here, and you go back to another menu, that's your zoom level over here. So this, if you want to zoom in here, you have to come into the navigation menu, set your zoom level, and then when you go out, your 1/3 map is now at that zoom level. That's how that works. And I usually don't mess with the zoom. I have it the way I like it, and it stays there. I really haven't messed with it at all. When you have active navigation, you can wonder wheel over to the right, and you'll get navigation menus. You can repeat the last instruction. You can skip a waypoint. You can start a route preview, or you can choose an alternative route. Now these are all things that are available in the app as well, and we're going to go over those here in a minute. If I go down into the submenu of this, I can choose a new destination out of recent destinations, my favorites, or any points of interest around. I usually never do this. This is a horrible, it is clunky. It's a really clunky way of putting stuff in. I use the app. I'll show you that here in a minute, and it's just a lot quicker. Settings, route criteria, this is where you can change your routes. Again, all of these options are in the app as well. So I usually have it set to fast. I avoid, you can tell it to avoid things. I tell it to avoid toll routes, dirt roads on this thing, ferries, tunnels, and highways, they're all up for game right now. Route info, and you'll see this once we get started. You can say how much distance is left to your destination and how much time is left until your destination, or the next waypoint. I use destination so that way if the gas light comes on I can figure out whether I need to pull over or not in the middle of my route. Spoken instructions and spoken instructions during call. I like these. I've tried Garmin before, and Garmin is really annoying with how often they come in with spoken instructions. These I find, you can change the frequency in the app, and these I find to be useful. They're not heavily intrusive, they're nice, they're not overly winded. I like them. The biggest things on is if you get this, or one of the RTs that have this, the map style under map view. Now I have this set to night all the time, and I'll show you why. Because daytime, you lose all these roads. They're just so hard to see against this cream background, and you just lose them all. I select night. It's just so much more detail for me. Automatic is during the day, it goes to the day theme, and at night it goes to the night theme based off of the light sensor. But I have mine on night all the time, and I love it. I don't miss any roads. Display, I have this set to my journey, so wherever I'm pointed is up. So I could change this to where north is always up, or my perspective, which ends up being almost just the same as journey. Show traffic, I have that turned on. If there is slow traffic or stop traffic, it will show that. It will not show green like Google Maps. It'll only show yellow and red to show you where there's heavy congestion or stops traffic. I have show favorites turned off. I'm actually probably going to turn this on once I add more favorites in. And then with the active zoom, this is kind of cool, and you'll see this when we ride. I'll have my zoom level set to where I like it, but when I'm coming up to a turn, it zooms in for me, and then after the turn, it zooms out. So that way I have higher detail of a turn in case it's a multiple road intersection, and if I need to, I can see exactly where I'm going without having to go back into the navigation menu. I find this actually really handy. And that is it for our navigation settings. You can stop map mode, which just turns this off, and it turns it into a basic screen, and then we can start map mode, and I get my map back. I always love the map. So we're going to menu up one button, and we're going to come over to media. This is where you get to control your media. So I have media playing now. We can go into audio settings, shuffle, repeat. For Spotify on an Android, these don't work. You can mess with them all you want. It won't change Spotify settings. I don't know if they work on Apple iPhones or anything else like that. I haven't tried. And again, you can choose your output device. If you go with speakers, your sound profile and your equalizer come back into play. But once you have something played, now you have it on your screen to where you can skip a track. You can go back a track. And this will be the screen I typically ride on. I can control my music. I can see my map. There's not much else I really need. Telephone, I rarely use this. I get on a bike to avoid phone calls, but if I actually have to, I can answer a call on here. I can make a call on here through my phone book. I can do a call list if I need to. I rarely use this. Like I said, I get on the bike to avoid phone calls. And again, our settings menu. Now this is the one thing where I'm really kind of upset with what BMW did. This is where they put the heating. I have no button for my heated grips, like every other BMW bike. I have a button to lock my panniers, which I never use. I would really like if I could remap that button to just bring me here as a shortcut, like they do on the K-bikes or the RTs, and just a shortcut button to bring me here. But in the settings menu, this is where you can adjust your heated grips, you can adjust your heated seat settings. This is available while driving. So typically on all the other BMW TFTs, once you start moving, the settings menu is grayed out. You cannot go into it. The assist and the heating is available while you're moving. Under the assist, we have cruise control, adaptive speed control, and hill start control. For cruise control, we can do a comfortable. You can go into a dynamic mode if you want. Comfortable's always been fine with me. You can activate your adaptive cruise control. So, and then hill start control. If you pull the brake, you'll get this little hill start. Same thing on all the other BMW bikes. Under vehicle settings, not much. This is just alarm settings. So if you get the alarm on here, this is where you change your settings. System settings. This is another thing I think BMW really missed out on. There is so much connectivity with the phone on this bike that I really think it should set the time and date on its own. You have to come in here and manually change the time and date, which I think BMW really missed the boat on, and I'm kind of a little upset about, because with me getting the maps from my phone and the music from my phone, it should get the time from my phone as well. So hopefully that comes in an update. But this is where you set your time. This is where you edit your connections. So you can edit your device. This is simply, pair a new one, or just it tells you what it's currently connected to. Rider's helmet, passenger's helmet, or you can delete connections. Display, this is where you can come in and adjust your display brightness. You can crank it up to 100 if you want. You can crank it down to 20. I find 60 to be fine, just fine. Status line content, which is this stuff right up here. Again, with all the other BMWs, you have this as well. This is where you choose what content you want up there to cycle through. And then speed limit info, that's this box right here. So if you want to turn that off, you just turn that off, and now you don't get told what the speed limit is. I usually have that on because driving through new towns, I like to know what it is. Information, this is just the licenses and software version. For any of you who are curious, that's my current software version. I have not checked yet to see if there is a new version out there for this yet. Licenses is way too small to read on this screen, and this is to do a factory reset and take all of your settings back to factory. So that is the main TFT on the Transcontinental. Up here we have the gas gauge. So typically I like to have something else in my menu screen, because I always know my gas. This up here is a speedometer. We have up here a tachometer, and this is the power reserve gauge, which I have nicknamed the Scotty gauge. It just tells me how much power is left in the engine room, and it's more of a novelty than anything else. I wish BMW would have given me something useful, like alternator current, or oil pressure, or something useful. Instead, I got this. Unfortunately, that can't be updated through software. So with that, let me get a new fresh camera, or new fresh battery in this camera, and we will go through the app real quick, and then go for a ride with some navigation to see how this stuff works. Okay, so here we are in the BMW Connected App. This is the main screen you'll come to. Up here we can see what bike we're connected to, our map mode. If we tap this, it'll kick that up. It'll turn the screen black. So we'll get with that when we're done. Our local weather, where we are, our previous rides, service to, and our connectivity hub. So if we tap up here, you can get information about your current bike that you're on. You can also get information about your other bikes that you own. All right here. This is our current gas level. This is how many miles until empty. And then weather, rides. So let's go into rides, which you can also access down here. So the menu on the left up here is the rides that it has recorded. This is what you've done. And it records a whole bunch of data. So if we go into this one, it shows this. You'll see what bike I was on, start time, total distance, things like that. Other stats, you can come in here and play around. If we come over to this section over here, this is the rides that we import. So if you have a GPX file of a route that you want to do, let's say you're doing the MABDR on a GS, you can do this in here and then do the on-screen navigation with the GS. I had this as a backup in case my Garmin went on the fritz again, which thankfully I had it, because my Garmin did go on the fritz again. Down here is where we come into our map mode. This is where we are currently. You can search for different things. Obviously the two most important things are in my history. You can also filter by gas stations that are around. You can do food that's around, and it's broken down in different sections. Sleeping accommodations, medical, and your favorites. So if we click that X, we get rid of that. If we come in here, we can do Moto Ohio. I've got some parts to pick up today, so let's go to the dealership. Down here, we see this big white button. This is where we can change our options for this ride only. These are my default options. I'll leave these because that's what's good today. But if you wanted to, you could take a winding route and have it to do the max distance. This is not like Garmin. It will not take you 3 hours away. It's kind of disappointing. That was a feature I liked on Garmin's. But we'll stay with fast. Come in here. If you need to do a route with multiple stops, this is how you do that. You click in here and you say, I want Moto-Ohio to be the destination. Now we have this right here, and we can click the plus button. So if we want to go to Starbucks on the way, we have this. We click that as add, but unfortunately, oh no, it added right in the right spot. So we are coming from here, going to Starbucks, and then going into the dealership. Can't visit a BMW dealership without going to Starbucks first. But we'll skip it today. You can get rid of this route. So if you don't like it, you're like, nope, I don't want to go. You say okay, and it wipes it out. We'll come back here. We'll go back to Moto-Ohio. If you don't want to save it, if you don't want to change your options, you can just hit go. And here it maps it out. So here we see it. It's taking me down, gets me on the interstate, and then we go there. Now the cool thing is, this little 1/3 map that we have over here, when I click on that button over to start up the map mode, so you'll see this map mode button right here that's in blue. When I click on that, this screen goes black. Now I have that blue line on here. I'm at the start, and in 25 miles I will arrive at 12:16 at my destination. So let's put this phone away and we'll get going. So the one thing you'll notice is here, my previous zoom level is gone. Because I have turns coming up, this is actually zoomed in for me, and it's made it clear to where I'm going to come out of here, turn right, which is not the way I normally would have gone. So it's nice that it zoomed in and I got some clearer direction on this. So let's get started. So as you see, as we're going, this is always pointing up. So no matter which way we turn, I'm always be able to see whether I'm turning right or left. I don't have to worry about which way is north, which way I'm pointed, or anything else like that. Another thing that I forgot to mention on it is the cruise control. So over here is the standard BMW cruise control, but we have a new button over here, and that's our distance button for adaptive cruise control. I'm not going to use that here, but we'll use it on the interstate, but I'll go over it until we get there. So I turn it on and I get the familiar little gray speedometer icon, and then now I have this. This is going to turn green when I actually set the cruise control, and when it sees a car in front of me, it will let me know that it sees a car in front of me, and then I will be able to pick my distance to that car, and it will maintain that for me. Now on the map while we're going here, so this is the distance to our next waypoint or our next turn direction. So in half a mile, now don't pay attention to this arrow because right now it's telling me to just go straight. Once I get down to about 0.3 miles or 0.4 miles, it'll tell me whether I need to take a turn or go straight. So it changed. So now here about 400 feet, I need to take a left. Alright, so now that we're on the interstate, we're going to set the cruise control. I'm going to set it right here at 68. I'm not going to let go. So right now I'm on cruise control and it is handling everything. I see that my lane up front is clear. It has no car in front of me, which I don't. And this button over here, so this one right here, this is the button that you use to adjust how far back you want to be with the adaptive cruise control. So if I hit this button, I see 2 lines or 1 line, which is going to be closer, where I can do 3 lines, and this is where you choose just your 3 levels of distance. Now that truck came in front of me, it sees the car, and if it slowed down, it would actually apply the brakes. It doesn't just cut the grass, it does apply the brakes. So if you need to slow down in a hurry, it will. It also, so you'll see that I'm in 5th right now. I'm on cruise control. I've got no hand over here on the throttle. It lets me shift too, so pulling in your clutch will not disengage the cruise control. So if you need to, because the car gets in front of you and goes kind of slow, you can downshift so that the bike has an easier time handling the RPM, and it doesn't deactivate your cruise control. Now I notice it doesn't care about this vehicle's in the lane left to me, or the lane, or the barrier over to the right. It's only worried about what's in front. Now, on that note, while riding with other motorcyclists, it has a really hard time detecting a motorcycle. If you are riding in a staggered pattern, where you've got your buddy over here and you're in this lane, it will not detect him. I've tried it. It doesn't work. It's something I would consider dangerous to use in riding in a group, and that's kind of the time where you should be paying attention and operating manually. As you'll notice, we've only got 10 more miles. It shows that we're still on time for being there. And if you'll hear, if you watch the RPMs, it's actually applying the gas for me to get up the hill, just like any other cruise control would. Alright, so we've been in traffic for a little while. We've had to increase our speed to not get rear-ended. But now I found this nice, slow semi. And what it's doing, the adaptive cruise control is keeping me at my set distance. And you'll notice that my cruise control is currently set to 73, but I'm going 67. So the bike has slowed itself down. It's going to maintain this distance between the truck and I. I don't want to increase my distance to show you what it'll do. I've got quite a few cars behind me. But let's say I want to increase my speed. I keep asking it for more. You'll see that my cruise control speed is going up, and yet it does absolutely nothing, because it's keeping me right there where I need to be. Now let's say I keep that 76 miles an hour and I want to get around this truck. Well, I do a lane change. It sees the car is gone, and now it is accelerating me up to my set speed. So that's how the adaptive cruise control works. If we come across a car that cuts in front of us, it sees that. It will detect the speed of the car, and if the speed of the car is going drastically slower than what we're going, it will either cut the gas or apply the brakes as well. So let me slow back down so I don't make any new friends with fancy lights. So another thing, we're here, since we're almost here, I did want to show you, it has actually pretty nice detail on this exit map of how to get off the interstate. BMW actually did a decent job of putting some detail into that map. And now that we're coming up to the end of the ride, so it's not related to the TFT or the electronics of the bike, but just the bike itself. It's just so much fun to drive. It's not a sport bike. It's not an RT. It's not an upright sport position like a K bike is. It's a recliner on wheels. It's nice. It's comfortable. It's low. It's heavy. But again, that's what this bike was meant to be. It wasn't meant to be a competition of the K or the RT. It was meant to be something you get on and you just go for a while. And the dealership looks busy today. Oh look, free lunch too. I love my dealership.